Yeah, hi everyone. Hope you're all well today. Sorry for the delay to start the class. It was my fault. Alicia was guiding me through doing some updates for Zoom the other day, so I was actually signed in as the host, and I hadn't signed out. So when I tried to get in before, it's probably stopped Leanne from getting in. So I'm signed out now. So now we can start the class, and as per usual, we will do it with the chanting. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Buddham Saranam Gacchami. Dhammam Saranam Gacchami. Sangham Saranam Gacchami. Dutiyambi Buddham Saranam Gacchami. Dutiyambi Dhammam Saranam Gacchami. Dutiyambi Sangham Saranam Gacchami. Tatiyambi Buddham Saranam Gacchami. Tatiyambi Dhammam Saranam Gacchami. Tatiyambi Sangham Saranam Gacchami. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the positive potential I create by practicing the 6 paramitas, may I soon attain enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the positive potential I create by practicing the 6 paramitas, may I soon attain enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings. I take refuge until I am enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the positive potential I create by practicing the 6 paramitas, may I soon attain enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings. May all sentient beings have happiness and its causes. May they be free from suffering and its causes. May they never be parted from the happiness beyond suffering. May they abide in equanimity, free of bias, attachment to the near, and aversion from the far. I shall cause this. Great compassionate Buddha, please inspire me to be able to do so. Reverently I prostrate with my body, speech, and mind, and present clouds of every types of offerings, actual and mentally transformed. I confess all of my negative actions accumulated since beginningless time, and rejoice in all the virtues of all holy and ordinary beings. Please remain until cyclic existence ends, and turn the wheel of Dharma for all sentient beings. I dedicate the virtues of myself and others to the great enlightenment. However innumerable all sentient beings are, I vow to save them all. However inexhaustible my delusions are, I vow to extinguish them all. However immeasurable the Dharma teachings are, I vow to master them all. However endless the Buddha's way is, I vow to follow it completely. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Tayata Gate Gate Para Samgate Bodhisoha. Tayata Gate Gate Para Samgate Bodhisoha. Tayata Gate Gate Para Samgate Bodhisoha. And so, as you know, today we will continue the commentary on the 4th of the preliminary contemplations, which is contemplation on the preciousness, the contemplation on the unsatisfactory nature of cyclic existence. We've already gone through the preciousness of the human life or birth. We had maybe 4 or 5 sessions with that one. And the contemplation on impermanence, about the same number. And then contemplation on the law of karma, I think 5 weeks we did that. And now this is the 4th week in relation to this one. And so we'll just do it. You should recall as I give the commentary, and then we will do the meditations to absorb the mind with the teaching, with the understanding of the teaching. So the 3 wisdom tools come into play: the hearing, the contemplating, and the meditating or absorbing your mind. And we will do that today, because the last 3 weeks we didn't do that because, as you know, I was working off some point notes that I'd written prior. Okay, whereas the last 3 were actually, I worked off articles that I'd written quite some time ago. And of course, we were stopping at different times to utilize these 3 wisdom tools. And today we will do a lot of that. and I'll utilize my point notes to do that, but I've given commentary. So for any of you who haven't attended the classes for a little bit, then you can look at the 3 previous classes in relation to this subject or this aspect of the preliminary contemplations. Of course, you can go back a few months to look at the other ones as well. Okay, and so the last 3 weeks, like I said, I gave commentary. Today, I won't give as much commentary. If I think it's needed, then I will, but it's already given. Okay, so I'll utilize these point notes for you to absorb your mind with the teachings. I'm now saying that, forget everything I just said, and let's do some brief meditations. So let's release the tension in the body. So get yourself comfortable. If your mind is dull, brighten your mind. If your mind is agitated, busy, calm it down. So bring your mind inside the body. And from the bottom to the top, we will release whatever tension we may have in the body. So I won't give you the finer details today, as I've done a few times recently. Just all around your feet and your lower legs, release whatever tension you can. Your knees and your upper legs, and your midsection. And the lower to the middle of your back, up your stomach and sides. Your upper back, chest, from your neck to your shoulders. And then down your arms to the tips of your fingers. Bring your focus back up to your neck and release whatever tension you may have there. And all around your head, the back and sides of your head, all around your face, and finally the crown of your head. And now very briefly, just scan your body again from the bottom to the top to see if there's any more leftover tension that you can release. Once you've completed this, initially bring your focus to the tip of your nose and follow the feeling of the breath as you breathe in your nose, past your throat, past your bronchial area, all the way into your lungs. They expand as they fill with the air, compress as you breathe out. You may notice as you breathe in, the air is quite cool as it passes your throat. And as you breathe out, it's quite warm as it passes your throat. So breathing in your nose all the way into your lungs, then back out your nose again. I'll add now that you can add the extra technique of counting the breaths from 1 up to 10. 1 in breath, 1 out breath is 1, and so on. But if you get distracted on the way towards 10, then go back to 1 at that time. So you can utilize this extra technique, or you can just focus on the feeling of the breath as you breathe in and out. If thoughts arise or any mental activity arises, don't cling to it. Don't grasp at it. Don't try to forcefully push it away either, or to deny it even. But simply and gently just replace your mind back onto your breath. So you let go of these distractions as you replace your mind back onto your breath. And if your mind starts to become dull or sleepy, clouded, slothful, then wake it up a little bit by refocusing onto your breath more brightly. Breathing in, breathing out. Not too tight, not too loose, not too much, not too little. So let's practice like this for a little bit in silence. So now we can feel pleased with ourselves for engaging in the short session, breath meditation. And now let's switch techniques to the loving kindness meditation. So feel really pleased with ourselves and fill ourselves with universal loving kindness. You can utilize the visualization technique of filling your whole being with the white light, or if you prefer a different texture slightly, then a white nectar. Or at the very least, you can go with the feeling. The feeling is actually of utmost importance. Feeling of this universal loving kindness. We have to kind of utilize our mind in some effort right now because we have not absorbed our mind with the loving kindness fully yet. Or the compassion, the joy, the equanimity. Not freed our mind from the biases yet, of attachment to this, aversion from that. So we have to make some effort with enthusiasm because we can realize how good the practice is. I was asked a question fairly recently that said, even if you know that something's good, what if you don't feel like engaging in it? You know, how can I engage my curiosity in this? And I simply said that, well, if you know it's good, then you owe it to yourself to be curious and to look into it. What else are you going to do? So I would say the same things to you guys, that this universal love and kindness that we are absorbing our mind with, making the effort to do so right now, is so good. So why not? Why not make the effort? What else are we going to do? To fill yourself with so much universal love and kindness that it now overflows and radiates outwards, initially to our loved ones, family, and friends. Filling them with the universal love and kindness too. And now also include those you're indifferent towards, may regard as strangers. Fill them with the universal loving kindness as well. And even those you may regard as enemies, fill them with the white light. Wish that these three types of people from your own perspective have happiness and the causes of happiness. Be free from suffering and the causes of suffering, and be peaceful. Also have the same wishes for all sentient beings. So now we can go beyond just human beings to all living beings around your immediate area initially. The ones that fly through the air and live in the waters, live on the land, whether they're born from wombs, eggs, moisture, or through transformation, whether you know about them or not, whether they're in different realms of existence that we cannot perceive directly or not. So share this loving kindness towards them, giving this universal loving kindness, if you're utilizing the visualization, radiating outwards from your heart center, the white light or nectar, and entering into the heart centers of all the living beings, filling them with the universal loving kindness in the form of the white light or nectar. So now let's radiate further and further distance-wise throughout your whole state, county. And other states and counties throughout your whole country. And all of the countries throughout the world, throughout all of the oceans, down to the core of the earth and to the outermost atmosphere. Throughout the whole solar system and galaxy. and the universe, until your loving kindness pervades throughout infinite space. Be present here and now to recite the dedication prayer as well. Due to this merit, may I soon attain the enlightened state of the Buddha, so that I may be able to liberate all sentient beings from their suffering. May the precious bodhicitta, not yet born, arise and grow. May that born have no decline, but increase forevermore. And may the precious view of shunyata, not yet born, arise and grow. May that born have no decline, but increase forevermore. So, I'm not sure what time we'll actually finish, but we'll just keep going until we do, obviously. Whether it's actually going to be close to the 40 minutes that I think. I'll try to finish up by then. And if we have a few more minutes, then I will add a little bit as well, because I think we started a little bit late. I work towards the old time, the organized time. But if we have extra, good on us. Okay. Also, just to remind you that from next week, for probably 3 to 4 weeks, I'll give commentary on the interdependent origination, Paticca doctrine, 12 links of dependent arising, as you can know it as well, and from an article that I wrote quite some time ago. Okay, so we'll utilize that. And then we'll basically be done with the this teaching from my book, number 47, which we spent months on now, because I had the idea from the teaching on precious human life, or the mention of that, to actually give commentary, proper commentary, detailed commentary on these 4 preliminary contemplations that we need to develop practice, to develop true renunciation, to enable ourselves then to have a mind that is ripe to realize the bodhicitta, and then eventually the supreme wisdom. So we'll finish that one, and then after that we'll go on to the next teaching, which includes the 8 worldly winds, the 6 paramitas, and so on. I think 4 immeasurables is mentioned. So once again, compassion, the great compassion, great altruistic intention. And then I think the last 2 relate predominantly to wisdom in the book. Okay, so that's why I went this way. Just got caught up going down the branches of a tree, very big branch, very strong branch. And then we'll get back to finishing up this quick Q&A, finishing up the questions and answers from going back to probably around about 9-10 months ago now. And after that, of course, then I'll look at Atisha's teachings. But we've already covered a lot of them. I've had a look at them fairly recently, and we've already talking about them. So it'll be kind of reiterating, but coming from a learned master, an enlightened master. Okay. So you should be able to get more confidence to practice the Dharma from a teacher's teachings, more so than my teachings. Okay. And so that'll do for that. Get yourself really comfortable for meditation now, and really, even if you already know these teachings, even if you've really absorbed your mind with these teachings already, then reinforce it now, okay? So I'm working on another 13, 14 minutes in the class, but we may have a little bit extra. All right, so the unsatisfactory nature of cyclic existence. We really need to understand this. Like mentioned previously many times, precious human life, make use of it. It's impermanent, do it now. Law of karma, do it in the right direction, understanding the law of karma. And realize that this cyclic existence, we can free ourselves from this cyclic existence. So I'll read a little bit and then ask you to contemplate for a very short period and then absorb your mind with what it is you've heard right now, okay? Samsara is not just this world. It's not a geographic location, nor is it just nature. Buddhas have lived on this planet, and yet they are free from samsara. Samsara is a condition of life, but it is not life itself. Escaping from samsara doesn't mean being extinguished, any more than it means leaving the city for a mountain retreat. So The cycle of existence isn't a place, geographic location. It's not just this world and so on. The cycle of existence is a way of being. It's mental. It is the condition of being propelled from the experience of one lifetime to another by the force of our mental afflictions and karma that we have created. So contemplate on that just for a short period. The poignant point there is that many people do think samsara is a place to be, just as they think nirvana is a place to be. But actually, nirvana, when we realize what we can loosely call right now the enlightened mind, or the true nature of the mind, then this is nirvana. When our mind is afflicted with the mental afflictions, the ignorance, the attachment, aversion, and so on and so forth, then we're in samsara. If it wasn't like this, the Buddhas would never come in the world. So the Buddhas, enlightened beings, but they come in this world. But they're not of the world. They are free from samsara. There's proof of one Buddha in our times, 2,600 years ago approximately, that gave the teachings. He was here in this world. So now absorb your mind with good understanding. Once again, feel really pleased with yourself. You can go back after class and do this if you have time, or when you have time. 3 wisdom tools, very important to put them into practice. You could say separately, but all together as well, because there's nothing separate. But just for the use of that word conveniently, then we utilize the wisdom of hearing. Then utilize our ability to investigate and analyze concepts, ideas, teachings, and do that, wisdom of contemplation. And then utilize whatever concentration we have developed so far to absorb the mind with the understanding of what it is that we have contemplated and heard. So now on to the next point. The condition of existence and the dissatisfaction it produces, produces, is the subject of this contemplation. So the condition of our existence and its lack of satisfaction. That's what we are contemplating. Then to help motivate ourselves to practice the Dharma, working towards freeing ourselves from samsara. So why meditate on suffering? It's not much fun. There's many fun things and joyful things to meditate on, isn't it? So why meditate on suffering? To be able to encourage ourselves to work towards freeing ourselves from the suffering, but also to develop this great compassion because all beings suffer. If we don't understand the suffering of others, how can we help them? How can we turn our mind to the bodhicitta intention to develop this great compassion, to help free living beings from samsara? Now go back to the point I was making. We could just watch a movie or get a pizza or buy some chocolate or a cake. So why meditate on suffering instead of doing those things? Because the way we live is unsatisfying. And this need not continue. Otherwise, the Buddha wouldn't have troubled us by pointing out the unsatisfying nature of life, or taught us the Four Noble Truths, of which the third points out that we can experience the cessation of the cause of suffering and therefore realize nirvana, realize enlightenment, unveil our true nature. Something is awry, even in the most enjoyable things. There is an element of dissatisfaction and anxiety in all human relations, lying so often just beneath the surface, even in times of pleasure, like I was alluding to. But the fault is not somewhere else, somewhere outside. Samsara is not out there. It's in our own afflicted mind, in the way we experience life, in the quality of our mind. We are not functioning in accord with reality, and therein lies the problem. So often we live our lives like what is impermanent is actually permanent. What is insubstantial is actually substantial. What is a self or isn't a self is a self. What is actually impure to be pure. Sometimes and often, in fact, mostly all of the time, we view what we think is happiness as happiness, but actually it is suffering. So now contemplate this very briefly. The Buddha would not have troubled us with these teachings and the information, you could say, that we can free ourselves from samsara if it was not possible. We created with our own mind. Therefore, we can free ourselves with our own mind. So now absorb your mind with understanding. And now bring your mind back to my voice. Engage in the wisdom of hearing. So put simply, there are three types of suffering. Dukkha dukkha, or the suffering of suffering. The everyday suffering that is very obvious. You could say the obvious suffering. Like having a sore neck or a cold, not getting a good sleep, things like that. Then we have the suffering of impermanence, that things are always changing. And the example of that is that when we are happy or contented, it doesn't last. It's impermanent. And then we have the suffering of no self, also known as the all-pervasive suffering. Like I said before, we live our lives like there is a self, but it's changed already. So how can we say that it is substantial, that it is there? Nowhere to be found. Also, we can know 8 sufferings as enumerated in the Paccita Samutpada, 12 links of dependent origination. Birth, old age, sickness, death, sorrow, grief, lamentation, pain, and despair. A whole great mass of suffering. The whole great mass there is the words used for the 5 skandhas. So attitude is important. You could say it's better to have a positive attitude than a negative attitude. But actually, we are working to go beyond all of that, because positive and negative is dualistic thinking, or based on. Like having a half full cup or a half empty cup. It's the same thing. Better to have a half full cup attitude than a half empty cup, but actually better to realize there's no cup. No comparisons. No concepts, you know. Better to be in the middle path, perceiving the positive, perceiving the negative, but not being touched by it. Meditating on suffering is not for the purpose of causing suffering. Rather, it's to understand and face it so that we can overcome it. By uprooting its roots, uprooting the 3 poisons of ignorance, attachment, and aversion. And those that come from that, the arrogant pride, the doubts, uncertainty, the wrong views, and so on. So that we can realize true compassion and wisdom. We can turn our mind to the Dharma. True renunciation, genuine renunciation can be developed, therefore enabling our mind or making our mind ripe to realize the bodhicitta, great compassion, and then the supreme wisdom. Remembering that the 3 marks of existence, that all conditioned phenomena in samsara are impermanent, have the nature of suffering, and have no self. And that nirvana, when you add that, becomes the 4 seals. Nirvana is freedom from all of this. We must work to purify our mind and unveil our true nature. So I will say to you now, I rejoice in your goodness as always. We will do some contemplation meditation.